Okay, continuing from the last video, we're going to get started here with getting this OAuth2 implemented. And so I'm in this stage now where I'm doing it in development for this app I'm working on. And the first thing you're going to need to do is go to the app in developer.intuit.com, sign in, go ahead over here to the keys OAuth2. And the only thing you have to do, like if you're not doing, this is not on the App Store, the app that I'm working on, is all you need to do is fill in this. And you can use HTTP, not HTTPS for development. And I'm using POW, so I just have a .test. And you're just going to give it something like that, OAuth2 redirect. Something simple like that. It's a little different in OAuth1 in where you're going to have to you give it this static redirect URI, and it's going to cause a little bit of a difference in how you have to do this this connection for OAuth2 to get the keys, the access key, when you do the initial connect. Now, in theory, actually, the initial connect is really the only thing you're going to need to do. The initial connect, you get the OAuth2 keys. Now in OAuth1, you would have a renewal process every 5 months. If you do this correctly, if you use the pattern that I'm showing you here, and you implement your request within that pattern, in theory, you don't ever have to do one of those background jobs that like OAuth1, where you did that every 5 months in that window. The window between 5 and the 6th month. So that's pretty cool. So here's how it looks. You're going to copy and paste the client ID and client secret. All right, now let me go over to the code. Okay, so we take that redirect URL and we're going to make a route with that. I just did one like right there like that. I'm sending it to my what I have is a visitors controller, and a lot of my other URLs have hard-coded account IDs in there, so you can't do that. So I had to pick like a URL right off the root there, and it is right here. I'll get to that in a second. Let me go over the. And you're going to take that client ID and from the OAuth2, it's client. What is it? Client ID and darn, I forget, but I have it in here. So let's talk about this. Okay, so this is a class I made, and I'm going to post this code. You can really okay, I wasn't on the mic. You can do. Use this code. A lot of this is going to be very portable. I am mostly just using the rack OAuth2 gem to do stuff like the refresh or like the renew. And it does a really nice job of it. You need to put that in the gem file. I have that in the first video. And there's also a revoke method. I did use, again, a design of all class methods. I was just a little, these could be into instance methods too, but I was a little, I just thought it was appropriate, I guess, to not have some things hidden perhaps, so I wanted to pass things around in arguments, but I don't know if that was the best design here, but I thought it was fine and I just went with it. There's also a migrate method here. It has, these basic setup, making a client when you got to have these here are the client ID and client secret that I was talking about before, and I put those in my application secrets file. Okay. Then it just has some other helper methods down here. And this is just the main crux of it, all right? So let me go look at here's the app I have. All right, I got the old Connect QuickBooks button here. And to generate this button, I'm still using this stuff here. I'm going to change that eventually, but yeah, I'm just talking about the new buttons you're supposed to be using. But here in the grant URL, I just make a call to this. There's an authorized URL that's here in the OAuth method. I got everything authorized. Yeah, this one right here. It just kind of builds a URL. And then you also are going to need to set a state. So you need to generate a state. So you need to generate this URL. You can do it with that, what I just showed you. And in the application controller, I just have a method here for generating a UUID. For test, I wanted something static. All right, so that is going to be this URL. Okay, so when I click it, we're going to do the stuff over it into it, and then going to hit this method here. All right, and it needs to have the proper state that you generated, and this is being put into a session. Where am I doing that? Okay, yeah, it's making a session here. And that needs to match here. Now, so the state you're getting back in the parameter from Intuit. I'm not going to actually run through that request because we're just going to assume that it works, and it does. But let's look at this controller here. This is kind of like my vanilla controller when for coming in to like the home page and things like that. And it doesn't have any authentication except for here, because what I wanted to do was I needed to make something off the root URL. That's why I chose the visitor's controller. But I did want to leverage, I'm using Devise. And we're going to assume, since you cannot have, it's not easy to figure out who is actually generating this request. So I think it's a little more difficult in OAuth2. You can either make a session or do whatever, and that's what I'm doing anyway with Devise, is to know what account you're on, what QBO account you're on. But I assume you're logged in when you're doing it, because I only show this button when you're logged in. So I'm safe to use Devise here to get the QBO account that I'm currently on. All right. And this is what you do. I'm just generating a client from the OAuth2 class, which is just this right here. And let's take that away. You're doing the authorization code here, and then you're just calling this method that OAuth2 does or has, and it's real nice, works great. I save all of these. You have to save the refresh token every time. This is the initial connect that we're working on, and I'm going to be adding some expires in stuff that I've added to my database for, like, I'm saving everything in this thing called QBO account, and to, a model called QBO account. And I just have this expires in stuff that the access token expires 1 hour from now, refresh token 101 days from now. It's not totally accurate, actually. There's also the refresh token can expire in 24 hours. I think if you don't use it, I'm still not super clear on some of the rules. But anyway, I don't even anticipate using this very much. But I think if you're definitely using a cron job, you want to save this information. Okay, so I have then a background job that does that does the initial import and some other things like that. I also have a revoke method here. So when you do a successful connection here, I can here I launch a little button here. I have a little button here where you can do a disconnect, and I'll also put the revoke code that I'm using. This is just a simple kind of call. You can use any HTTP client to do this. I'm just using. Now, you know, of course, with using QPO API, you have Faraday, but I'm just using the one that that comes with Rack OAuth, and you just make a post here to revoke. Okay, that'll give you a good running now on getting that initial OAuth2 token. This is going to have the code in the show notes. This code, this OAuth2 code. One thing I should mention with this OAuth2 code, hopefully I put this in the show notes too, is that you notice that this is not going to get looked up properly by the Rails auto loading. So you have to do an inflection here to have, if you wanted something like that to look like, I don't know, I just wanted to look like that, so I did that. So this will give you a lot of good information now to tie in with part 1. Then I'll have a part 2. Probably have the migration, like when I actually do the migration, because I have code down here to do the migration and a rake task to do that right here. And I'll actually do that too in development. Probably have a screencast on that as well. Okay, thanks for watching part 2.